Good morning, everybody. It was kind of a struggle to get on this morning, actually. I don't know why. It says my connection is not good, so we'll see how it works today. Welcome back. Hope you had a good weekend, a good Mother's Day weekend. Oh, I've been reaching up into my, where all of my incense ashes are. Oh, goodness. Okay, so let's see. Today it is Monday. We're a little bit late just because I could not get it to connect at all, no matter what I tried. That's interesting. There's like a floating thing in the air. It's like a fiber of some sort. Anyway, so I still kind of have a cold. I'm still a little bit congested, but I'm feeling much, much better. I wanted to show you guys my awesome new essential oil diffuser. So I love this thing. Okay, it was only like, I think it was like $30 on Amazon. And when you turn it on, you can, let's see, you can choose different colors. Let me try touching the screen where this is to, there we go. So you can choose different colors. Look at all these different colors. And you can choose a different intensity for each color. Isn't that cool? And yeah, there's 7 different colors. And then you can also set it to diffuse intermittently. So it'll like diffuse for 20 minutes or 20 seconds or 30 seconds, and then it'll turn off for 30 seconds. My favorite is this one. I love this one, not full brightness. And you can also set it for a timer, so it'll automatically shut off after 60 minutes, or you can set it to 120 or 180 minutes. And it's just so cool. I love it. It's like wood with, looks like wood. It's not real wood, but, and then this light body. And then when you turn it on, just the best. See, you can even see it. It just puts out immediately. Oh, it smells so good. So today I put in there, because I've got this chest thing that I'm trying to get rid of, Morning Sue. I have grapefruit and sweet orange and cinnamon. I was thinking about doing tea tree oil, but I decided I would not. I went on instinct. Okay, so that's my new diffuser. Holy crap, so bright. Don't know why it's doing that. That's weird. Okay, let me try touching a different part of the screen and it'll reorient to color for that spot. Okay, that's good. All right, well, never mind. I can't get it to stop doing that. The purple matches my hair. Yeah, it's funny. My hair, this is pretty faded out right now. So like you can see there's a lot of the silver. Yeah, lots of colors going on in the hair right now. Last night I went and saw King Arthur. Have any of you guys seen that? Yes, Sue. I don't have any card pulls yet for today. I will put you down as first. Oh yeah, okay, so morning announcements. I'm kind of all over the place. My head is congested. Oh, you want to see? There's the rabbit. This is her new favorite activity. See her right back there? I put the sheet over the couch. Okay, Stormy. And she basically pretends that she's burrowing. And it's funny, at first I was afraid of her doing it because I thought, oh my God, she's just going to destroy it, you know? But she actually doesn't put any holes in it at all. And it's just the activity of doing this burrowing. And she loves it. All right, Andrea, that's perfect. That's my 3. She'll like do it until she just passes out, lays down and passes out. So that's what she's doing back there. I'm trying to get her to where she's out of the cage more than in the cage. And yesterday she peed on the couch, so she got in a lot of trouble and wasn't allowed on the couch for the rest of the day. And that was really upsetting for her. She's very stubborn. Like she knows she's not supposed to, so she'll like force herself to go up there. So funny. So anyway, she's back there. You might hear her. Other announcements. Okay, Shauna is going to be in Portland, so she'll be joining me for Morning Oasis tomorrow and Wednesday. And if you're interested in a one-on-one session with Shauna or an in-person session with Shauna, she's going to be using my Home for Sessions space during that time. You can email her at shauna@healingpathwalkers.com to schedule, or you can look on the website as well. And yeah, so she'll be up here for 2 days. It's a great opportunity to work with her. She doesn't come up that often. I usually go down there. I love my dog's bark. Yeah, oh, she'll totally bury herself in the blankets. The reason I'm not letting her do that is because she turns it into this little den and then pees and poos in there. And I'm like, that's a no. That's a flat out no. So, what else is there? We've got our Give Back High Five. It's so funny. We pretty much planned that on the worst possible day. There was so many problems with Zoom and connection and internet connection stuff. I ended up finding this thing with Corey Good where he was talking about how there's a lot of interference with communications and technology. I thought that was really interesting. Okay, so there's that, and then Dinner with Jessie is on June 2nd. That's coming up. We're halfway to that, and we're doing dinner at Isan, which I'm excited about. I absolutely love it. We still have tickets available. I love you guys. You guys are like last-minute ticketers. It's hilarious. And then the meditation collection should be coming out in the next. We just have to figure out the full package, how it's going to fit into everything and how we want to do that. So that'll probably not be coming out this week, but next week, sometime around then, I'm guessing. But we have the chakra workshop ready to go. People are loving it. It's awesome. I'm getting the best feedback from those people who have purchased it, and Shauna, my partner, who got to listen to it. And you know what was funny is my sound guy Kyle, when he came and he attended the workshop live with me and recorded it, and I basically made him a part of it. You know, I gave him his own booklet and his own journal, and I made him participate in all the exercises and everything like that. And he's on his own journey. He's definitely on his own journey, and I absolutely love working with him. And he's starting to take the Life Mastery class as a result of the chakra workshop. But he hasn't done much training or anything like that. He does more. His way of tuning in is through making music, right? So anyway, it was kind of like his first one of those kind of workshops. And afterward, we all went out to dinner, and one of his artists that he works with, Kylie, who he and Kylie just made some amazing music. And one of their songs got chosen for Cable Girls, a foreign show that was, I'm so proud of him. He's just growing so quickly. Anyway, so Kylie was there, and she looked at him and she said, "Kyle, I have never seen you so happy and peaceful before. I've never seen you smiling so much." And that was right after the chakra workshop. So it's a great workshop. I do not teach chakras or anything actually from dogma exposure. I do think that dogma is interesting. I think it's a great way to understand how we got where we are and what's going on in conflict between each other, but it is definitely not what I teach. So I more so teach out of dogma. All right, so the chakra workshop is available. Let's do card pulls. Yes, okay. So we've got the 3 already. Anyone else who'd like to request can request for tomorrow. And let me feel. So, Sue. Oh, yeah. The Galactic Heritage deck wants to talk to you, Sue. And when we're going to do our meditation, if she's still too noisy, she should pass out soon. I will go over and put her in her cage so that we don't have the bells keeping us out of meditation space. I love my diffuser, you guys. I'm curious, can you hear the hum of it? I'm going to be quiet for a minute. Can you hear that hum? Oh, Sue. So, the Galactic Heritage deck. This is the Galactic, yep, this is your card. So this is that Galactic Heritage deck. I know it's backwards, but you can kind of recognize the cover. This one is by Lisa. It's Lissa, Lyssa, Royal Holt, Holt. And the illustrations are by David Cow. And I absolutely love this deck, I got to tell you guys. It's a great deck. So yes, that's the one that wants to talk to you. You can hear it? Good morning, Jolene. All right. So when we also do meditation, I'll turn that off too. And my God, I'm loving the smell of it. Thanks for letting me know, Andrea. Okay, let's see. Sue. You know, we, interesting. This is interesting. Okay, let's see. We've been getting a lot of hits from Lyra. And by the way, Lyra is like our ancestors, you know, so most of us are Lyran, you know, have pasts where we've been Lyrans. This is a process that we've all been going through for a long time. So this one is Lyran present, and it's arrogance. One more negative Lyran trait is that of arrogance, the belief that only they know what is best. In ancient days, they pushed their agendas and beliefs on many civilizations, resulting in dire consequences. Let's see. Can you still see it? There we go. Humans have this tendency as well. Often the intentions are good, but the outcome is not. Examine your own inner motivation for the things that you do. Is there a feeling of superiority? Conversely, is there a feeling of inferiority within you? This is an ancient pattern. Do not concern yourself with others' opinions or actions. Tend your own garden, which leads you to true inner peace. This is the final Lyran card from this time stream. The Lyran trait is shared by humans, and both Lyran and human culture have to transcend this challenge before they can evolve as a species. The Lyrans eventually evolved beyond it, but it was difficult. There were times in the Lyran past when arrogance almost destroyed them, and unless humans move beyond arrogance, we may not only destroy our planet, but our species as well. If this card comes up in your reading, truthfully look at where arrogance may play a part in your life. Is it in your beliefs, your actions, your attempts to control others? If you honestly do not find any, then look at those around you in your life. Is their arrogance affecting you in negative ways? If so, it is a lesson for you to access your strong, confident Lyran energy in a balanced way and keep your personal boundaries intact. Often we teach people how to treat us through our actions or non-actions. Take a good, honest look at how this theme plays out in your life and take whatever measures are needed to create balance from a place of loving kindness. So, you know, it's interesting. The connection was having a hard time going through, so you guys might have to watch the replay. I have already restarted my modem. That was part of why I was a little bit late. So it is, Facebook is sticky this morning. It's not working very well. But as far as the arrogance goes, what I notice is that some of my students who struggle the most with feeling confident and feeling like what they're doing is good and feeling like what they're receiving is okay, they also are highly gifted. And when they're in that state of being highly gifted, high energy, high work volume, then what happened, and also feeling inadequate or feeling inferior, then what happens is they externally have their arrogance or the imbalanced energy of confidence with lacking assurance and worth turns into arrogance, and it's externalized. So then everyone around them has these displays of arrogance or calls them arrogant or displays that rejection of their information or their work through this whole concept of arrogance. So it's something that is definitely being worked on right now, and in the whole human collective, is how to release the idea that what you know is the way, right? And that's part of the reason why I don't teach dogma and what we talked about earlier. I think that as soon as you say this is the only way to get back to God or to get back to source or to come back into whole consciousness, you are displaying arrogance, because there's as many ways to get back into source as there are ways to divide out of it. And all of us are divided out of it. So if you only look at our planet alone, that's 7.5 billion different ways to get back into source consciousness. And it's not about finding the right way. It's about finding a way. So it's definitely going to be coming up around you. And what I'm sensing is sometimes when your intention is to be helpful, people reject your information by saying you're being arrogant or you don't really know. So that's also just, all of these are those little subtle things that balance you out. So if you're in any way in an imbalance in that state of confidence and value, you're definitely going to be having your pendulum swinging high and low between arrogance and unworthiness, right? So we want to find that balance, which is confidence. And that confidence is just knowing, hey, I have found a way that works for me. And if you are struggling to find a way, then I would be happy to share my way with you, but I don't expect you to take it at all. There's a lot of advice that I give people, and I used to do this a lot more. In fact, I had one of my earliest students contact me last night wanting some help, basically wanting support. And I chose to not help her because in the past she has chosen to do her own way, which is totally fine with me. It's just, I can't be picked up on and asked for help at every minute when something breaks, but not when things are going well. So that's like turning me into a combat medic. And I said, I can't do it that way. When you're ready to commit to working on yourself, then you can take the class where you learn how to work yourself. But I can't be a piecemeal helper anymore. I'm not a combat medic. So that's me learning my own level of, you know what? Though my desire is to help everyone, my desire is to make sure that everyone has access to everything that they need. The reality is that people have to choose for themselves to pick up what is out there. And my morning Oasis show is all recorded all the way back to last December. So there's a wealth of information if somebody needs it and they're looking for that. And that was what I had to tell her. But that's coming into a level of confidence, self-worth, self-value, and also releasing her to be on her own path. So I told her, she said she felt lost. I said, you're not lost, you're exploring. So explore, get into it, figure out how you got there, right? And that's the whole thing. So when arrogance comes up, I've had people accuse me of being arrogant in the past before as well. And I've actually had people tell me that it's something I'm not aware of about myself. And the funny thing is the people who accuse me of it are also very arrogant as well. And what I have found is that when we are being accused by someone else of something, that's their own projection that they're talking about. And what they're picking up on, what they externalize, is what they reject in themselves, right? So they're like, well, they know that they have arrogance issues. All of those people knew that they were arrogant, and they didn't like being considered arrogant, but they couldn't help themselves. So what they rejected was the part that didn't like being arrogant. So they don't like you being arrogant, right? And then they view everything through that arrogant filter. So when somebody else is externalizing onto you arrogance, that's different than when you are internalizing arrogance. So oftentimes for me, I shut myself down by saying, oh my God, I'm being so arrogant right now. I need to stop doing that. And I'll ask, I'll ask people who I trust their balanced view. And they're usually like, no, you just sounded really confident. It was great to witness. And so I always use that check and balance of internal and external. The mirroring system and the external system's not bad. We can check in with it. We can use it as a tool to help guide us and understand ourselves better. And there's a huge difference between going up to somebody and saying, I just did this talk and you were listening. Did it feel like there was an arrogance, or were you able to receive the information? And somebody coming up to you and saying, God, you are so arrogant and full of yourself. Big, huge difference between those two things. Even if somebody says, yeah, it was a little hard to access. It felt a little hard to reach what you were saying because I was put off by blah, blah, blah. Well, then I know what to work on. Then I can take it and go, okay, I want to be able to change this way of showing up. So I love to ask the external. I ask you guys how you receive this show. I ask all the time because that brings the external and the internal into balance with each other. Otherwise, we get all up in our head and we make up stories and we turn it into something that's completely different than what we actually are doing. And then it becomes, something to get out of. Okay, so Sue says, and reviewing the class brings me back to where I can balance back. Yeah, that's great. And that's the best thing I think about having the classes be recorded. I have taken classes before where they're not recorded. And the reality is that especially during my classes, you're being tuned, your frequency is being adjusted. So for most of my students, the first time listening to the class, they probably won't remember much of anything at all from the class. And then they find that they have to go back and re-listen to the class again after the tuning is complete. Some of my students even pass out during the class the first time that they take it. So it has journals and exercises and all of those things as well in the class, but all of those are tools to take that class into the life. So so having it recorded means that you can go back and review it whenever you want to, re-watch it, re-listen, get that impact, that reattuning. It's great. Okay, so now I'm going to move her. Hey, you're not supposed to be in that planner, and you know that. You totally know that, Miss Naughty. There you go. Oh. And your bell. She's so funny. Someday she'll be able to stay out for the whole show. I'm working on the training. Thanks for working with me. Okay, so Stormy is next. The goddesses want to talk to you, Stormy. I hear you guys are going to have some stormy weather coming up in the next couple days. This deck is called Journey to the Goddess Realm, if I haven't shown it for a while. It's an oracle deck by Lisa Porter. Andrea says, I have to re-listen to several of the classes. I love that they're available to watch when you need to. Yeah, Andrea actually is one of my first students. Andrea and Shauna have been working with me, gosh, for 3 years, 2.5, 3 years. And Andrea and Shauna and one other were my initial, very first class, and that was when it was Life Compass, and she helped me build the class, So she's one of my guinea pig students. Okay. You'll go out and play in the storm. That's what my friend Jesse said, and he's like, you can tell an Oklahoman because when the sirens for the tornado go off, we go out and look for where the funnel is. Is it closer to 3 years now? That's amazing. It's been so long. It's crazy. Yeah, so they've been working with me. Shauna's been working with me probably the longest, and then I would say Andrea probably second longest, and Andrea has been there with me through everything. I love it. Thank you, Andrea. It's so awesome to have you in my support team. Okay. Oh, interesting. Knowing where you're at, this is kind of interesting, Stormy. I'm sure you won't find it interesting because this is how you live your life. Okay, you got passion, Ishtar. Voluptuous Babylonian goddess Ishtar is both lover and warrior. She's associated with tantric sexuality as everything in the universe relates to divine sexual energy. Ishtar is the great inspiration for all living things to connect with the sacred frequencies of sexual passion. Patriarchal worshippers attempt to demonize her as a harlot. The 8-pointed star is her symbol and the lion her animal representation. Lion and lion. Interesting, right? Ishtar calls out to you to awaken and come alive and be seduced by your senses and passions for what excites you. I think you already are a very passionate and inspired person, but I do think that it's been cooled a little bit lately. Perhaps had too much to do with other things, not had enough time to invest in that part of your life, but others receive from your passion. So, I think that another thing is our arrogance, just kind of pulling the two cards together. That's awesome. One of the things that's coming together for me is with Passion and Ishtar is they by calling a woman a harlot, it is kind of a commentary on her arrogance. How dare she be out there, putting herself out there as a sexual being, right? Or how dare she behave in such a way that stirs something inside of me, a desire inside of me, right? There is a certain judgment of the arrogance of this being to embody themselves so fully in their sexuality. And one of the things that happens for me is, I'm a big woman and I'm a clothing designer. So I make a lot of my clothes, and I make my clothes because fat lady clothes look like friggin' moo-moos, and they're horrible. And it's really hard to find anything that's flattering and that fits well. And because I'm also I'm curvy, I actually have shape to me. Most stuff just doesn't fit. It's like a bag. So I started making my own clothes, and I dress in a way that I believe accentuates my figure and that makes me feel not just beautiful, but feel powerful and feel sexy, because I want to feel like I'm my whole self. I'm intelligent, I'm beautiful, I'm mighty, I'm strong, I'm confident, right? I want to have all of that inside. And how we dress really impacts us in that way. And when I see women and they're out and they're wearing these heels that are this tall and they can barely walk in them, they're literally hobbling along in these tiny little mini skirts, and they're freezing and they're barely able to keep their clothes all covering themselves. That does not exude confidence and sexuality to me. That makes me see insecurity and a desire to be made to feel better. So I want to be able to, when I choose how I'm going to dress, for instance, right now, the only skin on my body you can see is my hands, my feet, and just this front part of my chest. I'm pretty much covered, but I still have that sexual and divine and that feminine or the feel about my clothing and my style. That's been really important to me because I had my sexuality damaged when I was younger. I was taught that that's what I was for, and I had to learn that I am allowed, I am safe being gorgeous. And that's the only thing that's allowed me to start losing weight or becoming more confident in my body and being more strong and connected to my body, because we're divine and we're gorgeous, and we have to be good with that. We have to be okay with that instead of looking at it as a downfall, which is what I used to do. I used to say I hate being pretty, and I would hate it when people would call me beautiful. That was my most, shut up, I'm not beautiful, it's just a good assemblage of atoms, it's just luck. And I would do things to try to make myself feel less beautiful or appear less beautiful to others. So I'd talk about poop, right? Or I would talk about something disgusting or something awful or whatever. And that would help take that focus off of me. But by embodying my sexuality and embodying the part of myself that's beautiful, I actually became more confident and had more ability to speak up about my truth and to stand in my power. And I was actually driving one day, and I was going up to a friend's house, and I was kind of thinking about all of this. And I remember I was thinking about how I have viewed all of my life being pretty as like a curse, right? As something that was an awful thing to bear, right? And then as I was driving, I started to hear in my mind my guidance coming through. And what I heard was that, what I saw was that who are the teachers that I learned the most from, right? And they were the people that I viewed as beautiful, not just physiologically beautiful, but beautiful, the whole soul. And when your soul is beautiful, and that means you're fully embodying yourself, the physicality appears beautiful to others. It doesn't really matter what it is. So I was like, oh. And then the ones that really hooked me the easiest, they also had this kind of natural beauty of physicality attached to it. And what happens for me is the beauty is like an open key that lets people feel comfortable with me for whatever reason. But they're like, oh, she's pretty. I want to talk to her. I also will have people, it's hilarious. They'll come up to me and they say, oh, you're really, you're really pretty, right? You know that, right? I'm like, okay. So it opens up the door and lets people come in. And as a teacher, I need a door opener so that people are willing to receive the message and the information. And once I had that shift in my understanding of it, that shift that said, wait a minute, being beautiful is actually a gift towards what I want to be here doing. It gives me permission. It also gives me permission to deliver messages in a little bit more of a sharp way than I would otherwise if I were having to worry about anything else. Not that we have to worry when we're not. We're all beautiful, honestly. Anyway, so, okay, that's enough on that. I'm digressing. Andrea, let's see what card pull for you. Oh, the Shadowscapes want to talk to you. I think that was for you last time too, right? So many of us are taught to cover up our beauty, and then we're also taught to try to be beautiful. It's the most fucked up system, truly. It's pull out of popular media, pull out of magazines. Stop watching those shows where the only popular people on the show. That's why I watch BBC, you guys. Everybody there looks like real people, and you're like, oh my God, they're so beautiful. They're so real. They're so authentic. You know, they're not dressed like they just got out of a runway show. And now they're working in a forensics lab. Like, could you imagine? Like, I love Bones, honestly. I thought it was a great show. But could you imagine in a forensics lab that everybody there, all the women there, are wearing designer garments? Like, seriously? Please. Like, you would be dealing with dead bodies and all that stuff in your designer clothes. You know how bad those places smell? Anyway, I digress again. Okay, so this is why I didn't continue in the clothing industry, because I hated that. Okay, so Andrea, you got the 8 of Cups. Let's see, can I get it? There we go. It is really time to turn away from the surface of things and all of the little bits of distraction to take that one thing that you know you want to learn more and understand more and go internal with it. So when we do this act right here, it is a powerful experience. So Andrea, pause, ground and connect, and the issue that you are struggling with, that every time you pick up, all these other things show up to pull you away, right? Let's see. Stormy says, thank you, my beautiful pal. I've always been confident completely, but never saw it in myself at all. Yeah, everyone else always saw my confidence way more than I did. I didn't feel confident, but people are like, oh, she's so confident. I'm like, are you kidding? You're not inside my head. Everyone else did. I always think I was unattractive. Finally learned how to love me for beautiful. Beautiful. You're stunning. You're stunning. And the work is being done. It's beautiful. So Andrea, yes, coming into the internal. So this, even if we if we relate this back to the other 2 cards, right? Sexuality doesn't come from the external. It comes from the internal as well. Beauty, passion, all of that comes from the internal. Once it's internalized and allowed to live inside of us, then it gets to radiate out of us. So we have to bring this internally. What is it that makes you feel blocked from yourself, blocked from your beauty, blocked from your passion, blocked from your intelligence, right? I think that that's another thing that's popping with me for you, is that fear of being viewed as arrogant. And you have such a cool, calm presentation that people are going to often mistake that. as an arrogance, a facade. And it's really just that you kind of got that Buddha gaze already, and people are uncomfortable with that kind of quiet ease. They get uncomfortable and then they try to transfer that onto you. They're projecting it onto you, because when we get that ease, what happens is we become fluid. So whatever the environment is, we're able to adapt into that environment and adjust. So if somebody's calling on us to be a hard brick wall that they butt up against, we can be the wall. And if somebody's calling on us to be the big bouncy ball that they get to bounce up against, we can be that bouncy ball. That kind of quiet grace and confidence is incredibly uncomfortable for other people, because other people are rigid in their belief systems. When we have rigid belief systems, we become rigid in our persona and our expectations of others. So they want us to behave a certain way, to be a certain way, to interact in a certain way, because that's what they're comfortable with us. They don't want to have to redefine their idea of us. And all the time I have people telling me what I am, and that I don't know what I am. Actually, I don't have that anymore, but I used to have that a lot. A lot of my old friends used to tell me things, and they'd be like, you don't know this about you, but this is what you're really like. And it was so funny, because it's actually what they're really like. And I'm like, that's interesting. I've been observing you doing those behaviors for the last 10 years or 20 years. And now you're telling me that they're my behaviors. Interesting. One of my friends even placed me in parties and environments I never, ever attended, and as a co-conspirator with her in her actions. And I'm like, yeah, so I wasn't there. She goes, remember in the basement? I'm like, I never was in that basement. I don't remember that at all. So we have that happening too. People want to shut us down because that makes them more comfortable with us. That makes them feel like they don't have to worry about themselves so much, and you're going to hold that shell. So with the Buddha gaze, with that going internal, be clear on what is yours. Who are you? Because we often forget that part of ourselves when we get lost in the imbalance of the seas that we're surrounded with, especially when those seas are full of turmoil. Yeah, I'm sure you do. I make people uncomfortable too. It's funny. Unapproachable. Exactly. I had one person tell me when I was way back in high school, they said I was scary. They were like, you're really scary. I'm like, me? Are you kidding? Yeah, I'm scared to actually approach you. My husband gets scared of me too sometimes. And I'm like, are you kidding? Like, I'm not violent. I'm not aggressive. The worst thing you're going to hear from me is, fuck you. So it's funny. People become scared, but I think it's because they become scared of what they themselves are capable of when they're confronted with us. Because we allow them to be whatever they are. So people will show up in ways that they even are surprised by. Okay, which brings me perfectly into what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to talk about obligational relationships. Yeah, Andrea, I know, isn't it hilarious? Like, we're both like, I'm sorry, I'm scary. It's hilarious. Okay, so obligational relationships. This is what I'm working on right now. I actually was working on it with Shauna last night. Now, I talk a lot about my personal life because I think it helps to illustrate and show you guys kind of what's going on. So for me, I have this delicate balance that I play with between acceptance and allowance and rejection, right? We're not saints. I'm not a saint. I'm not perfect. I'm still going to struggle with this. So I never want to reject somebody, right? I don't want to, because I know that if I've learned everything I need to learn from that person, from that environment, from that situation, that the bond, the tension that holds those two people together, me and that other person, is going to naturally break, and they're going to be released from that connection. Or I am, whatever, however you want to look at it. if there's nothing left for me to learn from somebody, there's nothing left for me to gain from them, nothing left for me to give them and thereby learn by giving or learn by receiving, then there's no attraction. And that's how you know, like, when you're done in a relationship, because there's nothing left. There's no feeling of hooking you back in. If there's a hooking you back in, then there's still something to learn there, right? So, like, that was why I married my husband, because there was, like, so many hooks. I was like, oh my God, I'm never getting out of this. Like, there's so much to learn there. Oh my gosh. So, with friendships and relationships with family, it's also true. I had in my family, we all have huge struggles within the family. There's lots of conflict. It's a big family. My grandmother comes from 9 siblings. My grandfather from 6 or 7. They all had lots of kids. They all had lots of kids. I'm like, and then we've all had kids. There's several hundred of us in this valley alone, in this little area where I live. So it's a big family, and we're all really different. Everything from professors and doctors and bankers, all the way down to meth makers, jailbirds, and total poverty-stricken trailer living in the middle of the forest, spitting in a can, everything. There's the full gamut. We have full superhero, or full, like, dramas in our family. And it's been a long time since we've had a family reunion, a really long time. So with the obligation piece, I'm going to come back into that. So I've always had this, like, fear about rejecting people or overly allowing their behaviors towards me. When's the point when you say, I'm all done? Now, in my family, my mom, her behavior was so just, her behavior was such that the family said they were done with her. So when I was 14, I lost my whole family, pretty much. None of my family would talk to us because of my mom's behavior and her interactions with them, and because of the dynamic with her and her siblings and the war that they created between each other and dragged everybody into. So I grew up, like, rejected and having this feeling of, oh my God, people can drop you at any minute. I don't want to be that person. So I allowed everybody to stay. And I had some unhealthy friendships as a result of that. And I moved a lot, so there was a lot of instability. So for me growing up, I grew up in such a way that set me up to accept anything from people. And a crow's flying by right now. So that I would accept whatever it was that they did and tolerate whatever their behavior was, because at least they still loved me. At least they were still there. At least they still cared. And by doing so, I created obligation with them. This sense that, please let me be a part of your life, and I let you be a part of my life, because I felt incomplete, because I felt unloved, because I felt rejected, right? So one of the things that's coming up for me now, as I've gotten to this place where I'm much more clear, I'm much more calm, I'm much more centered, I have old family members that watch my show, that show up and come in and ask for readings and ask for session work. And my mother has nothing to do with me. She's just effortlessly and gracefully gone away, right? So I don't have there's no hook to draw and pull us into each other. She did actually contact me once for the first time in 4 years with kind of a message that was just like, here's a link I thought you might like. And it was nothing. And at first I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'm not having any response right now. I'm not even getting angry, even though the link was something that would have pissed me off like 3 years ago. So that was this little an awareness of, oh, I'm actually totally fine with this. Wow, okay, that's great. And that was it. And I said, thanks. And it's just this natural, graceful resolution. But then there's times where I needed to have a much harder, like, I'm all done with you. I'm all done with these lessons. I'm all done working with you. And I'd actually like to have somebody different come in. And I want to learn that from someone different. I'm all done with this dynamic. So we can do that too. We can either work through with somebody until there is no connection, there is no more hooking, or we can say, I'm all done with this person. I'm ready for a new set of this lesson with a new person. Because sometimes we can actually release some of the old lessons that we are done with and attract in a person that's more current to where we're at. There's some, I can't remember exactly who it was. I was listening to somebody talking, and they were talking about how it was like a TED Talks or something, and it was talking about in relationship dynamics. You don't just go out and have the worst kind of relationship partnership, whether that's sexual or friendship or business, and then suddenly learn everything and go into the best possible relationship dynamic. It's a transition that you have to go through of, oh, okay, now that didn't work. Oh, now, okay, now see, I'm getting better, getting closer, getting warmer, getting closer until you get to that choice. So you have that option as well. But the moment obligation is a part of the relationship, I have to accept this person. I have to do these things for this person. I have to show up because I owe them, or they owe me, or whatever. When that becomes involved, it twists the lessons around, and you don't know when to let go then, and you don't know when to stop. So for me, in some of my old friendships, this is where pulling it all the way back around to what I actually wanted to talk about. For me, in some of my old friendships, I've had that obligation piece connecting us. We made commitments. Oh, we'll be old ladies sitting on the porch together. We'll watch our children grow up together. We'll be there for each other. Well, over 20 years, there were times where one was more for the other and one was less. But for me, I was very little supported in reality. And my support, the support that I did get, came with some fear and some judgment and some pieces that I didn't know what to do with, right? Like that I didn't know how to handle. But I didn't feel like I could speak my truth because I felt obligated to them, because I depended on them, because I needed them. And so they were giving me what I needed, so I have to show up. I have to give them what they want, which is to feel dominant or to control or to feel more powerful or to whatever it was that they were doing. So the obligation part of it made it so that the lessons don't flow fluidly. And once we had learned everything and there's nothing hooking anymore, the obligation is like this tether that doesn't allow it to come all the way apart and release and go on to the next thing. So last night, that's what we were doing, was really looking at those obligation tethers that are keeping me hooked into relationships that have naturally and effortlessly and gracefully drifted apart. So I don't have to still sit there and go, oh, should I be doing this for that person? I feel kind of guilty because I'm not doing this. That's an obligation and a vow commitment. So we've got like 10 minutes left. Let's do that work together and see if you don't find the way you relate to your obligation relationships, because I'm sure you have them, those relationships where you're like, oh my God, I would so rather not have anything to do with this person, but they've been there for me in the past, we've done this before, I owe them, they're my mother, whatever it may be. I'm not saying that mothers are bad. You know, I've got a lot of mothers, thankfully. So, you know, mothers are wonderful, but sometimes we have to take away the obligation in the relationship. Ooh, these color changes are interesting today. So let's go ahead and make sure we're sitting comfortably. We didn't do a meditation much last week because I was just so sick. Feeling much better. So let's go ahead and do this together. I'm going to turn off this. There we go. So we don't have that sound. All right, go ahead and breathe in this present moment. Smelling the air. And exhale. Breathe in this present moment, present awareness. And exhale. Ooh. Breathing in, present moment, feeling the air, feeling the temperature, coming all the way into the self. And exhale, start releasing yourself from other times and other places, other people and other things, just like you're unhooking. You guys are so good at this. Just unhooking from tomorrow, this morning. Breathing in, coming present, pulling all parts of the self back in. Good. Good. Breathing in, coming fully present. And as we breathe in, let's invite Gaia to come up into our vessel, to ground us and support us in coming into optimum frequency with our physical expression of ourselves. Ask her to support shifting our vessel cell by cell, even the resonant frequencies between the cells, to come into that full harmonic orchestra of physical expression. And let's just feel that for a minute. Letting go of the control, stepping into the allowance. Notice how your body's already adjusting in your posture, your positioning. You're sitting straighter and taller, laying more elongated. Effortlessly and gracefully already, just shifting and changing. Oh, she's clearing my sinuses. Excuse me. Holy crow. Wow, that was like all of a sudden. Just feeling her in more and more, inviting her and thanking her, having that deep gratitude that we have this divine mother beneath our feet, supporting us, holding us, carrying us, walking with us, witnessing us. So much gratitude we have for her. And as we breathe in again, we're going to invite the Divine Father, that Divine Source, that Source Infinite Consciousness, to come in and align us back into the optimum frequency that our soul spur, our piece of fragment of the whole came here to embody. Bringing us into optimum frequency alignment with our highest of selves, as we invite Source to come in. And let's express our gratitude that we have this collective infinite consciousness that we are such a beautiful part of. So grateful to have it here, guiding and supporting and carrying and holding us. Breathing that in. Good. Now I want you to imagine that you're standing in the middle of a sphere, a perfect, beautiful, opalescent, rainbow sphere of golden light, standing inside of this sphere, just feeling it around us, knowing that within this space we're learning and growing and shifting and evolving. And now I want you to see how your sphere has these tethers that are tying it out of obligation, out of a sense of owing to other spheres that are the people in your life. Look for the ones, ask them actually, the ones that are unhealthy, that are the only thing tethering is just this obligation. Not the ones that are actively engaged in learning and growth, but all learning and growth is done and there's just this tether left behind. Ask for those to be the only connections that you see right now. And just imagine this to be true and allow in your mind's eye the faces of those relations, those friends, those lovers, those teachers, those students, those clients, those vendors, whatever they may be. Allow them to show themselves to you. And notice how you have no emotional response. You don't want to see or connect more. You don't want to not connect more. You're not rejecting them. You're not pulling them to you. Feel that sense of just kind of flatness that you feel as those tether lines are extending out from you. These are the connections we're going to work on. Good. Notice how you're in a state of neutrality right now. Feel that neutral sensation. If you're not neutral right now and you're feeling a sense of justification, validation, reason, excuse, any of those things that are popping up, there's still something to be learned in that lesson set. So thank it for showing you that you've got that lesson still to learn. And recognize that that won't go away until the lessons have been learned. So release that. That's not what we're working on. We're working on those where it's just a tether of obligation. That's all that's left. As we go through the week, we'll work more on those other lesson sets. So right now, we're just going to look at the obligation tethers. Good. Feel how the neutrality came back, that sense of calm. Now I want you to imagine you had a great big pair of golden scissors. And you're going to go all the way around snipping these obligation tethers. And in your mind, you're going to release them and thank them. I'm so grateful for everything that you have done for me in the past. I'm so grateful for everything you do for others. Thank you. I'm so grateful I was able to support and give to you. Thank you. I'm so grateful that I learned. We're going to just snip with gratitude. I release this relationship of obligation. I no longer feel obligated to you, and you are no longer obligated to me. Snipping those lines of obligation that are between you and the other. This will also allow some of those relationships to form completely different connections and ties. You may not find that the people of obligation are gone from your lives. You may find that their relationship with you is simply going to change. As soon as you've snipped the lines, pull those lines of connection in and surround them with that golden healing light, sending their lines toward them with love and gratitude. No judgment, just allowance. Just allow naturally for them to float away. Just take note of how you feel. You want to stay in a state of neutrality. Tomorrow we'll work more on this. Thank you guys for coming. You can continue doing this work for as long as you find it. Once you've completed, just re-download your optimum frequency from source. Redraw the Gaia energy up through you, rebalancing and tuning the vessel and the self and the consciousness in order to ensure that you're staying even. You want to continue moving forward as you release these old lessons. You don't want to go backward thinking you've missed something. Okay? Love you guys. Thank you, Sue. You're welcome. See you guys tomorrow. Maybe the connection will be better.